welcome to another edition of the Around the Ballpark podcast. As you know, my name is Mike Redman. I am your host alongside my brother, Darren Redman. And we are here today with our special guest. His name is Ben Weil, also known as at Benny Bang Bang on social media as well. Might be familiar with him. We'll kind of get into that in a little bit. Here, before we do that, Darren, can you share some exciting news with our listeners?
Hey, Mike and Benny Bang Bang, did you know that in the heart of Palm Bay, Florida, where the ocean meets the sky, there's a place where, tax worries meet their end, which, is great because nobody wants tax worries, right? Whether you need to file from years of I forgot to file my tax returns, or current year return, or you just need the relief from a tax lien or a levy. Nashville Tax Solutions is the solution for you. Introducing Nashville Tax Solutions, your trusted partner in the tax resolution industry. At Nashville Tax Resolution, they understand the stress and the confusion that tax problems bring. Sleepless nights. Oh, nobody likes that, right? You're afraid about the knock on the door. Look at that, I got sound effects now. That's why we're here. That's why they're here to offer clarity, relief, and most important, peace of mind. That is just invaluable because stress kills. Our expert team of tax professionals are dedicated to providing personalized solutions tailored to your unique situation. Taxes are not like templates, right? They're all different. They're unique. They're like fingerprints, kids. Play along. All right. So, listen to what some people have said about Nashville Tax Solutions. A person I talked to recently had the pleasure of working with Christopher Bennett, the owner of Nashville Tax Solutions. And I got to tell you, one thing he said to me was that the knowledge and expertise in tax matters was truly impressive. He was able to provide clear and concise explanations, ensuring that that the person I was talking with fully understood the process and the best course of action to take for their unique situation. Chris's professionalism and attention to detail were evident throughout the process, and the person felt confident and supported every step of the way. I highly recommend Nashville Tax Solutions, and specifically Chris, for their exceptional tax services. Nashville Tax Solutions saved this person from a financial nightmare. And nobody likes a nightmare. And let me tell you something. Even if you can't sleep, you're still going to have a nightmare, right? You think about that, right? So no good. They're not just experts in tax resolution. They're compassionate people too. And they really are. Nashville Tax Solutions is the place to go to get your taxes done. So don't let tax problems weigh you down. Contact Nashville Tax Solutions today and let them guide you toward a brighter financial future. Please call Nashville Tax Solutions at 615-502-2250. Check out the website at NashvilleTaxSolutions.com or send an email to info@NashvilleTaxSolutions.com. Nashville Tax Solutions, where tax resolution is achieved. Michael,
yes.
Deep breath. Let's go.
You mentioned nightmare. I just think about, man, I just went back for a minute as a Mets fan. I just had a nightmare just a minute ago, thinking back to Armando Benitez coming in and just ruining game after game after game. Just brought me back there. I don't know why, but that's where I just went. So what I'd love to dive in here first. Ben, thanks for being on once again. So I guess we'll get right into it. A little bit ago, we had Tony Voda, the baseball road tripper, on our show, and he's someone who has been able to accomplish attending every single Major League Baseball stadium. Same as yourself, you've attended every baseball stadium. But let's first go into the recent Sol series between the Dodgers and the Padres that happened earlier this spring. And so kind of first your thoughts, because it was kind of awkward. We talked about this on the show before, where it was like spring training, pause, regular season game that matters, ×2, pause, back to spring training, pause, regular season restarts. We get why they do it. kind of your just quick thoughts on that, and then just share your experience because as those that watched that series, it was a very exciting series to watch. And at first I was a little skeptical about the different games internationally, but it's been a hit in my opinion so far. So if you want to touch base on that.
Sure. First of all, if you're gonna bring up Armando Benitez, that makes this feel like an invitation. Like I don't want to hear about Armando Benitez.
I heard Nightmare. That's what happened. It's all
Say
right.
his name, and every feeling in my body just goes to Game One of the 2000 World Series,
Oh, that game was so winnable. Oh,
and it would have changed the whole damn series, right? Like you steal Game One on the road, like who knows what happens next?
yeah. Well, you do know what happens. The Mets win that series. I
I mean,
think.
I'm not going to go that far. They still lost 4-1. It's not like they lost 4-3, but at least,
I can
who
dream.
knows? The momentum you gain from winning that game. If you win game two and now you go home, like who knows? But it's a different series, that's for sure. Especially every game was so close. Lose game one, 4-3 in extra innings. Lose game two, 6-5. Game three they win. Lose game four close. Lose game five, 4-2. With a runner on, Piazza drives it to the wall. Like
Oh, this Piazza's looked like it was going to go, and then it just died in the air.
oh,
And,
yeah,
and he's probably
so.
living his best life right now, and we're still thinking about the nightmare that was that season. But
yeah. Anyway, that's what you got when you bring up Armando Benitez. You give me a lot of anxiety and bad feelings. But going back to what you wanted to talk about, the Soul series, I mean, it was incredible. I'm really fortunate I went and got to go. Getting tickets was the hardest thing I think I've ever encountered in life. Like getting Super Bowl tickets is so much easier than trying to get tickets for that series. It was unreal. The things we had to go through, and look, I can't even say it was really one of my friends that he was the one that went through the ringer, but we got them, and that was all that matters at the end of the day. But it was such an interesting environment, a small stadium. I think it's like 15 plus, like just under 16,000. So, similar to like a hockey or basketball game, not like a baseball stadium, which is 40 plus usually. And they so one of the things I keep talking about I thought was so interesting is like they play music like like a live people that are like banging drums and playing music while the batters are hitting, while the game is going on. And it's not something you ever see in Major League Baseball, right? Like they blare the PA system when in between at bats and when anything's not happening, but as soon as there's a batter, everything silences, right? Like you're not allowed to do that. So it was, other than like, the, chance that they start pushing. But it was really interesting. And like the crowd was great. They were so into it. It was a lot of fun. It was a little different than like, I went to Japan to Tokyo 5 years ago for that series when they opened the season. And
I love this stuff.
but like it was silent. Like every time, like it felt like, when the game's going on, like I'm turning to whoever I'm sitting next to and like I'm whispering because like I feel like I'm being rude if I speak at like a normal volume because that is how absolutely silent it was in Japan. And Seoul is like they say it's Korea is like the Irish twin
Right.
of Japanese because they're louder and and it's such a great culture. I loved it so much. Seoul was unbelievable. Truly like one of the most unique places I've ever been, and the games did not disappoint.
No, they're great games. I enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. And I saw the 2 game series as we know it. So we did see the photo. You got the ball. Now that ball, that the Soul Series ball, that's not something you can get during batting practice, correct? That would have to be from a foul ball, from a home run ball. Is that correct?
Yeah, or third out in case.
Third out, yeah.
Yeah.
So easier said than done for sure. So
if I can just use a term from our friends up in Letterkenny, pump the brakes. So you're in the stadium, hot dog, popcorn. What is the seriously the cultural? I'm at the ballpark. I want to get what's the basics and price wise and how was it and talk to me about all of that. I love that.
Sure. Yeah. So for me, and I've had a hot dog literally at every single stadium I've been to for a major league sporting
I
event.
love hot dogs.
Yeah, me too. But like, so it's a thing. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm going to this new stadium. I must have a hot dog. Like, it's just one of the things I do. So, places like when I went to Tokyo, it was just the worst hot dog I've ever had in my life. And that's fine because they're not, you don't expect a hot dog in Japan. You shouldn't be eating a hot dog in Japan.
Right, right.
So much great food, don't eat a hot dog, and so I was really like, oh, I'm gonna have to suffer through this, but I have to do it just to see what it's like. And it wasn't that bad, but it was edible, so that was good. Whereas Japan was not. It was not edible. So, but so yeah, they had hot dogs. They outside of that, not a lot of typical ballpark food. Like one of the big things, I forget what it's called. I think there was a specific name for it, but it was like this type of shrimp, like a fried shrimp that everyone had, and the lines were huge for it, and they sold out. So it's like you had to get it before the game started because like that's how quickly it sold out.
Right.
So they had some other unique foods like I forget, just like they had lots of like bags of chips and different types of snacks in that way.
Mhm.
uh you would buy. I don't know if I noticed anything else outside the box too much, but like the hot dogs, I know something about the hot dogs. They did have like different types of hot dogs and like unique types of hot dogs, like the things that they were putting on it. I can't remember exactly everything, but I remember, I think I actually might have taken a picture if I can see
Yeah, please.
it of the menu.
So while you're looking that up, here's a question I can ask. So are you a person that would say, hey, I'm in a different city, I'm in a different town, different culture, different country. I'm going to try some of that fare, which I have become that person. I
Mhm.
used to be totally opposite. Nope, this is what I'm getting. I'm getting this only. So are you aggressive with your understanding of just trying different foods?
Oh my God, absolutely. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Unfortunately, I can't find the picture. I don't think I took one, I guess. So, but yeah, with in general with the foods, I'm like, I want to try everything. Like I push myself really far. It's just at a stadium, it's a hot dog that I have to
Oh, you
have.
have to. Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
That's it. But outside of that, outside of the stadium, I'm like, for me, sometimes I travel with people that will be like, oh, they want to take like the safe route, and I'm like, I want to go somewhere that nobody else speaks English. And me trying to order is going to be the hardest thing I'm going to do today.
Right. I
And
love it.
whatever comes,
Yeah.
but I know it's going to be good.
There was, and then I'll shut up. There's a great album by Steve Martin, the Wild and Crazy album in 1977. He talks about kind of that. He took a trip to France in the album, talks, and then he thought it's like he learned a few words, which was a terrible thing to do, because then they think you can speak the language. And then you like omelette du fromage, and you order like a cheese omelet, but you really ordered a cheese with a shoe, because they ask questions you don't know. And then you start to talk with a French accent, and that's just stupid.
Yeah. That's such a great point that you bring up. You are spot on. Like I got Steve Martin spot on with this
Right.
because I think about this. Like, I travel to Mexico a decent amount, and my Spanish isn't terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. Like when I speak, I sound like I actually know what I'm saying. Like I have a decent enough,
Right.
and they'll like, so I'll order things or I'll order something or say something the right way, and they'll speak back to me in Spanish. And now I don't want to look stupid by like being like, oh, actually, I don't understand what you're saying. So sometimes I'll just nod my head or I'll say,
Yeah.
see or whatever, and then I'll get something and it'll be like, oh crap, what did I
Well,
do?
well, that's the joke. That's what he goes. He goes, I didn't want, he goes, yes.
I never thought about that, but you are exactly right.
That's so funny. I think, and one of the things too, now here's an interesting thing. So with that ball we mentioned, so you want to sit down, you want to enjoy the game, but part of you is like, I've got to leave here with that ball. So how do you balance? It may seem silly, but it's legit. Like, how do you balance? Okay, I'm spending too much time comfortably in my seat versus I need to be up somewhere to get a ball. Like, does that distract you from the game at all, or you're just, I'm here for the experience either way?
Yeah, no, you bring up a fantastic point. I mean, the idea of needing to get the ball is just I mean, I'm telling you, this stressed me out for months before I went to the game, right? You know, like, I'm already thinking about these other games I'm going to, right? Like, I mean, they're going back to Tokyo next year, and I'm planning to go there or whatever it is. And it's like already thinking, like, I better get this ball. How am I going to get this ball? Oh my God, this is going to be so hard, you know? And and that was that leading up to Seoul, I was very stressed about it because, over the years, I had always like gone for quantity of baseballs, like needing to get lots of baseballs in batting practice or trying at least. And I've sort of gotten away from that a little bit. Just it takes up so much time, especially a game like this. I'm in Seoul, right? I want to see Seoul. I want to spend time in Seoul. I don't want to spend, an entire day at the baseball game when I can be exploring this amazing city I'm in. So that's stressful in its own right. You need to go for batting practice, trying to get there 3.5 hours early and being online before that. So there's so much planning. So it's not just a 3 or 4 hour baseball game, right? It becomes like a 9 hour event. And but um, but in terms of getting the game ball, what I did really so I noticed right away that the netting was very, very high behind the dugouts. So high that it was like just slightly under the second deck. So I'm
Wow.
like, what if a player's throwing it over this netting? I mean, he probably just throws it straight to the second deck because it's so high as it is. Like you're going that high. What does it matter if you just put a little extra oomph on it and the distance? So in my mind, I'm like, I think that's going to be the easiest way and the best way to get a view, trying to navigate around the upper deck to get this baseball rather than trying to find a seat in a sold out, impossible to get ticket on the lower level of 15,000 person stadium. It's pretty small. So just going to the second deck and they were less strict about, we were able to like stand in the walkway. There was a walkway, along the whatever along the deck, and then there was like 5 rows down and 25 rows behind us. uh and so I was sort of navigating back and forth, first base, third base, depending upon what team was on the field, whoever would get the third out, trying to get a third out. I thought that was going to be my best way. When the third out hits, like run down to the front, jump up and down, and hopefully get the player's attention, and he's gonna launch it up there to me in the second deck. And fortunately, in the middle of the fourth inning, that's what happened with Xander Bogaerts. So yeah,
Nice.
but it was very stressful leading up to it because, like you said, like I just want to sit down and watch this game. I wish I could have gotten the ball immediately, and I just want to watch and enjoy the game. And as soon as I got it, I'm like, great. And I went to the last row in the stadium and I sat there for like 4 innings because I'm like, I'm just gonna relax now. Like I'm happy, I'm content, like, and I'm gonna take this all in. So
That's
Yeah, and
beautiful.
it's so appreciated as a baseball fan, like just seeing that and knowing how much goes in, like that doesn't go unnoticed, like how much work and time and preparation. It's not just, hey, I got another one. Like
yeah.
it's like one way I can relate. Like if you look at a family photo, you go to someone's house and you look and there's this beautiful family portrait on the wall and it looks great, but the backstory was probably 2.5 to 3 hours of chaos
Mm.
getting everyone to
Right.
stand a certain way, wear this, and probably fought, and stepmom probably stormed out of the house, and it was probably a hot mess, and they finally got it together. And so that's what it is. And you can finally take that deep breath and go, okay, I can sit down now and enjoy this and go have some more food. I don't want to be stuck getting food when someone's first career run could be happening, or Shohei's up again or something like that. So yeah, absolutely. So was that in game one or game two that
Well, thank
when
God. I
yeah.
went through the stress for a whole game and then had to do it again.
So you got
That's
to really
great.
enjoy game two. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
S-
Sure.
So
That's
before we get into some of the particular stadiums and arenas and the places you've been, because you would literally been everywhere. If somebody knocked on your door, I'm being serious now, and they say, what constitutes a fan appealing stadium slash arena slash barn, if you're talking about hockey, that's not over the top, that caters to the high end person and to the person on the budget?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
The answer is not SoFi Stadium. That's what I'll tell you.
Yeah, my daughter's been there a couple times. She said the same thing.
Ugh. I really don't like it. And so many people are like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's so this. I'm like, it's so high tech. Unless you have lots of money in your city, like it is not made, it is not a fan friendly environment. It's so sterile. It's so like, it's meant for rich people that sit down
Yeah,
low.
yeah.
Yeah, it's, oh, I hate it. But, um, you know, contrary to that, the stadiums I love, like Joe Louis Arena in Detroit, Fenway, and these are like, they're tiny, you're on top of each other type stadiums or arenas, and it's just, I love that. I don't know that they cater to the more well-to-do fans so much, but they're more like the diehards, right? That's what those stadiums are for, really, the diehards.
You know, you mentioned SoFi, and here's a dirty little secret, kids. Um, Especially for the Chargers. My daughter, both times they played, I think they were playing Denver, 2 years in a row. She was able to go the day of the game, get tickets online, $35,
Mhm,
because nobody wants to go.
mhm.
Because of exactly what you said. It's not parking. It's not a great experience if you're just sitting and it's sterile as heck.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, what she did get to do, and I thought of you when she did a couple times too, is she got to go to the LA Coliseum when they did the NASCAR short track racing. That was unique.
That is unique.
Yeah. So, but she said the sound system there is from the year of the flood. You know.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you
It's funny.
mentioned kind of getting into some of the stadiums, so kind of branching outside of baseball just for a little bit here. So for those that may not know, Ben not only has attended every single Major League Baseball stadium, we can not include the NBA, the NHL, and the NFL. Recently completing, if I'm not mistaken, with the Seattle Kraken and NHL as your final stadium to accomplish that. So just we'll dive into some of your favorite stadiums. But what was that like? That feeling for that one particular game and holding up that sign, like what that meant to you, because I'm sure I mean, obviously it meant the world. That's like asking a baseball player before he gets his, up to the plate, like what were you thinking before you cracked the home run? So obviously we know you're excited, but like how do you contain that emotion? Because
Sure, yeah. I swear, I really hadn't thought about it at all on my own until like the game before in Vancouver 2 days earlier. My wife said something to me about it. And, like, how do you feel? Like, it's, or whatever she said, like, this is your second to last stadium, something. And that's when I started to get emotional. Actually, it was at that game, the second to last one. And you ask, well, why? That's, what's so special about that? It's like, because it means that, like,
Yep.
after this one, like, after that one, there's no more. Like, I'm that close, like, so it's sort of like realizing you're about to achieve the goal, like, not that you've achieved it, but you're about to. And it's like, well, crap, now what? Like,
So since you're talking hockey, I got a hockey question for you, and then I'm gonna ask some other arena questions, But here's a rogue one: the Saddle Dome, where the Calgary Flames play. It's so iconic, that saddle for me. What is that like?
oh my God, it was so cool. I loved
I love hearing
it.
it.
I mean, you never think that, like, hey, you're gonna find like one of your favorite stadiums. You've been to 120, because it was like number 121 or 122. It was one of the last ones, right? It was Friday. I think it was my third to last one, and or fourth to last one. Yeah. And so I've been to 120 other stadiums, and now I go here and I'm like blown away. I'm like, I love this place. It's amazing. I want to spend every game here. And then someone tells you, they're like, oh, they're getting rid of it. I'm like, are you kidding?
I know. I felt that same way about Wrigley when they were talking about getting rid of Wrigley and talking about getting rid of Fenway. I was like, no.
I know, I know. Now look, the Saddle Dome is so unique, right? Because it's
Yeah,
like the sites, they have, I mean, I went up to the very last row and the
I
very,
do that. I do that too.
oh my God, it's so far away. I was just like holding on, like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna fall and die. Because
yeah,
I'm like,
like you have to stand up for the national anthem, but you're also thinking I'm going to fall to my death at this
yeah,
exact time as I'm standing
correct.
if I lean too hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, I don't know the actual numbers of how far away it is, but it is unquestionably the farthest away I've been in an indoor arena from like, the court. So but it was really cool. Just like so unique, right? Like I love a unique experience. I mean, fans are fantastic. I mean, just such a great vibe in that stadium.
You
Really
know,
cool. Loved it.
I have a soft spot for original six hockey teams. Like tonight, Canadians are playing the Rangers.
Sure.
And a couple of weeks ago, I went to TD Gardens up in Boston to see the Rangers play the Bruins. And I gotta tell you, just the culture of and the sophistication, I say that without any hubris, of the fan there, it's just so different. Like, for example, I went to many a San Jose Shark game, but the Shark Tank is a very,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And when you go there, you go to MSG, it's just a different vibe. I can't, maybe you can explain it because you've been to all these places. It's hard for me to explain to people.
Yeah, no, I agree. Hockey for me was always the fourth sport and really by a wide margin. I
Sure.
was much of a hockey fan. That said, from the first time I went to a hockey game, which was a Rangers game,
Mhm.
I was like, wow, hockey, this is different. Like this is
Yeah.
the best experience of any of the sports going to a game live.
Yeah,
And
it's a game that's meant to be seen live. Absolutely.
yeah, oh yeah. But like if you went to an Islanders game at Nassau Coliseum, I was like,
Right.
it's not so great.
It's called the mausoleum for a reason.
Yeah. A Devils game,
Yeah.
the Rangers game. I'm like, all right, this is fantastic. And it really, so for me again, like not much of a hockey fan, but when I got close to this quest, right? Like baseball was intentional where I'm like, I'm gonna
Sure.
try and put all these stadiums, and like I did it fairly early in life. I was lucky for a few cross country road trips and friend trips and whatever. So, I'd done it by the time I was 24 and was able to achieve it on a budget, which was great.
Right.
And then I started to do a lot of overlap, or I had done a lot of overlaps in time, like, like when I go to a baseball game, like do it in September, right? Where I catch a football game also, or
Nah, yeah.
do it in April when you catch a basketball game also. So then I wanted to like start doing the NFL stadiums and what's it called? I'm a big Colts fan, so I always travel to see the
Nice.
Colts specifically. And then I achieved that goal, and I realized like the NBA arenas weren't too far away. So when we achieved that goal, I was like, I wasn't even close with hockey. Like one of
Right.
the last hockey stadiums I went to was Boston, was the TD
Right.
Garden, and I live in New York, right? And Philly
Right.
also, Philly I hadn't been to, and like some of these stadiums that are so close, and it's like
Yeah.
it just shows that I'm not really much of a fan. Anyway, the point is like, so for me, as I'm like, oh, okay, I have to, like, not I have to, but I want to do this, but sort of that's a lot of hockey I'm gonna have to watch, and I don't really like hockey. But as I started going, I started to just fall in love with the sport.
Right.
Because it's so much fun live, and the arena experiences, some of the teams are so great. Like going to a Florida Panthers game, not so great. Going
Right.
to a Carolina Hurricanes game, though.
Oh yeah. At the end too, though. Oh,
Yeah.
slapping and it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certain sports obviously are
So
meant to be live. Like, to me, the worst thing you can do is listen to an NBA game on the radio, because all you hear is squeak. That's
Yeah.
literally all you hear. And so you go, basketball for me is at the bottom of that floor list. But when you go to a game, I was actually sharing story with Darren earlier that the
this is
Orlando
a wild
Magic
story.
yeah, this is true story. So one of the things I would do, like I'm a big wrestling fan, so I would go to WrestleMania, whatever city that it's in. It's actually on right now.
Yeah.
And so I would go, and so I looked at one time I was going to New York, and I was looking at Rangers tickets because just something to do, and they want and Nick tickets. I think it was the Knicks were completely out of the running, 11th place overall, whatever. And I think the cheapest ticket was $105, something like that. And they're irrelevant at this point. So don't do that. I just do some wrestling stuff. So anyway, so the next year WrestleMania comes to Orlando, and so I'm like looking at what else I could do around the time and stuff like that. And I look, and the Orlando Magic were completely out of it. Second worst team in the league. The only team below them at the time were the Milwaukee Bucks. This is before they started playing much better. Second to last game of the season, I go on StubHub, and there was like 7 of us that wanted to go. Well, maybe it'll be cheap because it's almost the end of the season, right? 77 cents a ticket. So the 7 of us went for $7.77 to see this game. Now, granted, we were sitting in row triple Z, terrified for my life. I didn't move. I didn't go to the bathroom. I didn't get popcorn. I just sat there. But until everyone else was gone. But like that's unheard of. Like now, I mean, you can sometimes find some deals, but I don't think I'll ever beat that again. But even still, being all the way up there, just being there live. Same thing with wrestling. I know it's not one of the major sports, but those that kind of knock that, you're there live. It's a completely different experience. And I always thought it would be cool at one of these sports to be able to. WrestleMania actually did it one time where you'd have a device that you can kind of put in your ear and you can actually listen to how cool would that be? Like you're in a stadium listening to the commentators while watching the game without having to log to the MLB network on your phone or something. But like that would just enhance it a little bit, in my opinion, because there is some quiet time and stuff like that. But anyway, so what I'd like to kind of dive into real quick next, what about so you mentioned all the major sport teams and whatnot. Have you kind of tackled the minor league baseball world just yet, or spring training world, or is that next? Or
I did a big spring training. Like I think I've done almost all the Florida teams. I think I'm missing like two. I think I'm missing the Yankees in Tampa and the Phillies in Clearwater. I think that's it. I've done every other Florida one. I did a whole bunch of all Arizona last year because Arizona, they're so close to each other. You only really need like 6 days to do all the stadiums, which is great. So I did that last year. But yeah, in terms of other sports minor leagues, I don't know that I'm ever going to do the minor leagues. That's a lot.
that's a lot, but yes,
A
maybe
lot
someday.
of traveling, a lot of random places that are not easy to get to. So
Oh, you don't,
Yeah.
you don't want to go to the Sheboygan, Orange Grove,
I don't even
why
know what that
not?
is. Like I need to know where
I don't either. I just made it up.
it
So yeah, I got to ask you a question. Let's go back to baseball. In your opinion, again, they're all great, everybody. So please, no hate mail. And if you do, please address it to Mike Redmond. Most overrated baseball stadium surprised you the most? See, I'm not going to ask for the best, but so which one surprised you the most, and which one was like, oh, I'm a little disappointed?
Okay. Well, I mean, Pittsburgh's my favorite. PNC is beautiful.
I heard nothing but beautiful things about that place.
Every time I bring it up to anyone that's been there, they all agree. No one has ever said, like you said, I've never heard a bad word about it. So I would say it surprised me because I didn't necessarily expect that out of Pittsburgh, like just not really knowing much about the city, and so Pittsburgh, it's gorgeous. Overrated though. Somewhere I was like, a little disappointed. People, you know what? I think I'm probably the only person that says this. People love San Diego. They love Petco, and I'm just not a huge fan. I don't dislike
Actually,
just not a huge-
it's so funny you say that because I have one of the best snaps I ever had. Now it's a beautiful stadium, but I was sitting in right field in the center field, and it's kind of just there's nothing there. You look around, and okay, what's really cool is the
the warehouse.
stadium is built into and once you look at that for 3 minutes, you're like, oh, now what? And there's just nothing really there. I got the same feeling in Arizona, Bank One Ballpark, it was called, the Town City Field now, because I just felt like I was the inside was nice, actually very, very nice, but I go in, it looked like a big airplane hangar. Right?
Yeah.
That's all it kind of looked like.
Yeah.
But maybe because I'm old school and I'm just old. To me, Wrigley Field and Fenway were just gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, literally, I said it to someone today. I mean, put me in Fenway, and I can just die a happy man. Like,
Mike's going there for his first time this year.
oh,
Yes,
amazing.
in
When?
August. Very
Nice.
excited. Yeah, in August. Where I live in Florida is actually about 3 hours away from Tampa and 3 hours from Miami. So like going to those games, it's what it is. But I'm very excited to get out to a new park, to Fenway. I've been to Shea, I've been to Citi Field, I've been to the old Yankee Stadium, I've been to the new Yankee Stadium. That's actually about it for baseball wise. So like I'm very excited for this trip in August. But I guess let's wrap it up with the Mets. Let's dive into the Mets just a little bit because we got to. So we're sitting here now, 2-6 as we're recording this. But what can we expect for the rest of this year? Is it going to be painfully atrocious this season? Is there a hope? Like, I feel like JD Martinez, he's going to come up, he's going to go 2 for 15. It's going to be stretched. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this year? Like, we've got to dive into that a little bit. Like, because I need some hope. I need some hope. Give me some
Well,
hope.
hearing you say 2 for 6 means they must have lost today, and I didn't catch up on that. 'Cause I
Oh,
saw.
no, they won today.
Oh,
It's won
good.
today.
All right.
Yes.
3-6, right?
So they're 3-6. Yep, they're 3-6.
All right.
Yeah, I was
'Cause
trying not to give the spoilers. So that's why I kept.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
uh, uh, I mean, look, great starts, rough starts, they don't really mean anything. Like, teams have good stretches and bad stretches all the time. So I'm not someone that's like 0-5, like, let's jump off the bridge and whatever, because a few years ago they started like 11-1 or something. I don't
Yep,
think.
and it meant nothing.
Right, yeah, exactly. So these things, it's just a stretch of baseball, right? And we all know it is a marathon. Baseball, more than any other sport, is a heck of a marathon. So, and on average, if you've won 60% of your games, you've had a hell of a season, right? So, having a rough start, like, so let's say they get to 3-7, right? That means you won 30% of your games, but in a 10 game span, big deal.
Right.
That means nothing. I mean, look, I don't think it's going to be a great season. I don't think anyone expected it to be a great season, unfortunately. I think it's going to be, if they break 500 and finish 500, they've probably done, better than they should have, to be totally honest.
No,
Which is,
absolutely, absolutely. Like, I don't understand some of the hate that Francisco Lindor gets. I really like him as a player. It's just, and I don't see the hate, but I read about it on X and some of the other social media sites. He went yard today.
yeah.
To me, he is the captain of the team. I mean, it's his team. I don't, and I say this comically, people. I don't know about having a manager named Mendoza, because in baseball, Mendoza is not a good thing. The Mendoza line is 200. Right? But I think the team is not a playoff team. I think this is the year that we just have to suffer to, 500 team. I want enjoyable baseball. That's what I want. And if they sneak in backdoor the playoffs, even better. That's what I'm saying.
For sure.
But so
Yeah.
go ahead, Michael. What do you think?
I was just gonna say, I think this is the time to overreact on things for sure. Marlins started 0-9, won a game today, another spoiler, but so we're not in panic button. Things could certainly turn around. You never know. You look at a team like Tampa Bay Rays, like right now they're last place. They're not used to that. Haven't done that in a long time. They got a 5-man rotation sitting there on the injured list that can match up with any team in the entire league at any time period. They're that good, and so pieces will come together, especially for the Mets. But you mentioned Lindor, like, yes, he's slumping a little bit, but the guy gives 110%. We're not talking about Cespedes here. We're talking about Lindor, who's got a smile on his face at all times, always hustling. And so it'll turn out for him.
I think
I think,
sorry,
you know,
I just think fans get so caught up with the big contracts,
Yep.
It's like he
Yeah.
gets this huge contract, so it's like he's supposed to be the MVP every year, every minute, right? So you have a bad start or a bad game, or it's just they get on him immediately,
yeah.
for the
So
hate.
let me dovetail a little bit, because I love talking baseball. The rash of pitching injuries, what do you think? Do you think it has anything to do with the clock? Do you think it has to do with the fact that they're not making these people throw a lot of innings anymore? Ben, what are your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, we've seen it over the years, right? Like pitchers pitch less and less and less and get injured more and more and more.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to control every little aspect from such a young age, and they're throwing so many more innings when they're younger, and you're like grooming pitchers from the time, or kids to be pitchers from the time they're probably 6 years old, 7 years old,
Right.
whatever. So, I mean, Nolan Ryan, just right. We think of guys like that, even like Randy Johnson, which wasn't long ago, right? Randy Johnson was throwing
Right.
so many complete games, So I don't know. Levon Hernandez, right? He was always a
Yeah.
huge innings eater. Um,
Yes.
so I don't know. I don't think it's great that they protect the pitchers so much.
I totally agree.
I mean, I understand. It's like you think of it in the way of, oh, it's your most prized possession, so you want to protect that the best, the most you can. But like what was it? Blake Snell went into the eighth inning for the first time ever last year, or something like that. Something
Yes.
crazy where it's like, are you
Oh yeah.
kidding? He won two Cy Youngs, right? Like
Yeah.
he's never gotten to the eighth inning. Like,
Tampa would look at the 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 1 hit, and go, "It's time. He's got to get out of there." Like,
I mean,
unfortunately, that's so
you
that's
would
unheard
have
of. But
people like Bob Gibson, Tom Seaver, pitch 22 complete games,
yeah,
yes,
10
and here's
innings
the
in the
other
World
thing that
Series
doesn't get
game.
said is the bullpen is pitching more and more. The starters are pitching less and less. Every Tommy John you hear of is starter, starter, starter. Like very few and far between are we hearing about the relievers. I mean, so like at some point someone's got to click. Like something's, um, I don't know.
So, so
It's a
not,
shame. You heard about Shane Bieber. I think it's the newest one. Like it's unfortunate, and hopefully it gets corrected. But because the time, I mean, it's about a year and a half, right? But from start to finish, if they get the procedure done right away. So
so not to go too far afield here as we close. We just had before we did the podcast with you, and again, thank you so much for being here with us today, Ben. We had on an author, Danny Gallagher, who is an expert, used to cover the Montreal Expos, has written his 10th book on the Montreal Expos. I just finished rereading his book called Blue Monday, where they talk about the 1981 team that came up one game short to go into the World Series. Dodgers ended up beating the Yankees. And I bring all that up because these guys pitched 2 games in the playoffs, 2 out of 5 games. And by the way, Steve Rogers, we're talking about, for example, he went complete games. He expected to go complete games. And by the way, he got the 2 hits that drove in the 2 runs to win the game. Right. And then Jeff Reno was interviewed. He used to play for the Mets. He was a very good pitcher. He said that he expected to pitch 3 innings every game, 3 innings. And yeah, they had injuries or whatever, but not like this. Not like the China dolls they got, the Glass Joes. I mean, my gosh, what's going on?
yeah,
It's like eggs. It's so breakable these days.
so true.
All
And
right, I'm sorry to wax poetic.
okay, so last question. This is probably one that gets asked a lot, but I just always like asking because I'm just curious. So just touch on 86 for a second because you got to, right? So I have to watch that DVD every year to make myself feel better. But so Buckner catches the ball. Does Mookie beat it out or not?
I mean, I feel like it looks like I feel like yes, or no, that Buckner makes the play, right? It looks like a routine enough. It's probably a bang bang play, but I think Buckner makes the play.
Yeah, we'll never know, but it's a fun little conversation to have.
Yeah.
But it was funny because the other day, wife comes out. I'm working from at home in the patio, and Mets had lost another game that day. So I actually found in the garage. I found the '86. I hadn't watched it in a couple of years. I put it on. She's like, "What are you doing? Why are you torturing yourself again?" I was like, "Because I just needed a smile today." So, but I love one of the things about that year. We all talk about what happened in Game 6 and everything, but one of the untold stories of that year was there was a point where so many players were suspended that they actually had to put like Jesse Orosco or Roger McDowell in the outfield just to field a team.
I remember.
That was
And they would flip.
yeah,
Depending
they
upon
would
the
flip.
pitcher.
Yeah,
All right.
so amazing.
Ben, I got one more question for you, then I'm going to give it to Mike to sum up. And again, thank you. And this might be the most important question you got in the last 30 seconds. Are you ready?
Go for it.
All right, you mentioned you're a big Garfield guy, right? I mean, you love Garfield, right?
Yeah.
Are we afraid about the upcoming movie? Are we excited about it? Are we like,
It
what do you
looks
think?
adorable. It looks adorable.
Well, see, that's the whole thing. But see, I tell you, it looks good. I'm going to be there. But I was so disappointed in the most recent Godzilla and Kong movie. Like, I just get afraid. Like, I love these franchises, and I'm like, oh, So I'm hoping it's good.
Yeah. You know what it is Nickelodeon took over Garfield and they're sort of rebranding him a little bit where you're making him more like fun and likable and friendly, not like grumpy and
But that's what's his charm.
I
I'm
know.
worried.
I know. But
And listen, I like Garfield. Snoopy, we mentioned, was mine.
yeah.
You know, but I saw that it's upcoming, and I see every movie literally.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, I don't know, because Bill Murray's not doing the voice anymore either, right? I mean,
Yeah, I don't think so.
yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm concerned.
I'm excited because I'm gonna get to take some of my nieces and nephews, and it's the first time
Oh,
we're gonna
that's
go see
beautiful.
a movie like that. So I'm really excited for that. You know.
Okay,
Great, yeah.
what's your routine? I see. I gotta ask these questions, right? Because I'm just a movie nut. So you walk in, you meet nieces, your nephews. Do you get the food concession stand right away and then hit the seats, or do you get everybody into the seats and then go back and get the order?
You're scaring me because I've never actually done this before. So now I'm thinking
Three New Yorkers. Right. Yeah.
I guess get the food first, I think. I don't know.
That's what I would strongly suggest,
Okay.
because it's just you do. And then here's the other thing: you go to the movies by yourself, right? Are you a popcorns, soda guy? What do you get?
Popcorn's
Do you start eating the popcorn too before you sit down, or must you sit down first, get comfortable, and then you partake?
I eat a few bites when I
There
first.
you go.
Yeah, there you go. And one thing that's been happening, I know we keep saying, but one thing that keeps happening more and more at the local, like down here, we're blessed that we can still go to an evening, like weekend premiere for under $10, which is a blessing nowadays. But more and more, I'm seeing these families coming 15, 20 minutes after opening night movie is beginning, and they're coming in with endless supplies of popcorn and drinks. They're looking around and they're angry that there's not a place to sit. And it's like, this is the first night the movie's out. You're 15 minutes late, and you've got this stank look on your face, like you're expecting just, like I don't get it. Like, just plan better, be better. I don't know. But
I get it. By the way, life hack people, are you ready? Again, we're not endorsed yet by Regal Theaters. I do the Regal Theaters $21.99 a month, unlimited movies for $21.99 a month. So it pays for itself in two movies. I go to about 8 or 9 movies a month. So just let you know.
well, again, we would like to this time just like to once again thanks first Christopher Bennett and Nashville Tax Solutions, trusted partner in the tax resolution industry, and also Ben as well. We want to thank you so much for coming on here today. We could continue talking for hours. We got to end it at some point here.
Yeah, Ben, how does somebody get a hold of you? How does somebody follow you? I'm sorry. Just
Instagram, sure. My handle is at Benny_bang_bang. If that helps. I don't know if you can add it. I don't know how.
No, I love it. No, there's no edit. I love it. I love it.
I love it. And I'm going to continue to follow you along. It's been a pleasure, Ben. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. And until next time, we'll see you around the ballpark.